California, a sunny state on the western coast of the USA. According to statistics, 1 out of 5,000 Americans lives up to 100. California is an exception. Its longevity figures are growing due to a little place called Loma Linda. Today, this town with a population of 20,000 bids to become the American capital of longevity. Elsie McClellan allocates time to rest in her deck chair every day. This spot under the sun of California is her vantage point.
I enjoy just seeing the birds out there getting, to the feeding. I love watching the sun. The planes going over, we go out and sit outside and watch the planes going over. It's a pleasure just to be alive. Oh, look at the plane!
When Elsie was born, there were no passenger airplanes. Where Loma Linda is now, there were just few houses.
I am Elsie McClellan. I am 100 years old.
Elsie moved to Loma Linda when she retired in 1979. Today, she lives in 2 locations. She spends winters and springs with her daughter in California and goes to Canada in the summer. In her house in Canada, she lives on her own and takes care of herself.
And I wait for my 9 o'clock. Had my bath and go, and if I need to do something, like if I intend to mop the house, I'll start mopping it and then take a rest. Get up and do so much more. Then I get the vacuum cleaner and clean up the... Sometimes it's a pain, because you want to do something quicker, but your legs tell you, just hold back. And I say memory work and go around. Maybe sometimes I mop the floors, and
Elsie does not make those efforts to prolong her life. Her physical activity is a question of faith.
Adventist has always believed that it is a religious virtue to also look after one's body. Adventists are creationists. They believe in a creator God, and therefore they believe that one needs to respect one's body.
A clear realization of this religious commandment is a health and sports center in Loma Linda. This place ranks second in popularity after church here. Along with the young people, there are 1,200 elderly club subscribers. 1/4 of those people are over 80 years old. They enjoy free admission. Starting from 1958, the researchers of the Loma Linda University have been keeping track of the health of the Adventists. This study of a specific homogeneous group is one of the longest in the history of science. The Doctor of Medicine, Gary Fraser, has conducted the study since the 1980s.
In your study, how many actually centenarians are currently?
46 people over the age of 100, and there were about, our oldest person who filled it out was 113.
113?
And her eyesight wasn't so good, but she was thinking clearly, and her 90-year-old daughter helped her.
Why do you think they live long? What is the secret?
We were able to identify 5 factors that seem to be related to an extension in life. And interestingly, each of these 5 factors seem to add, approximately 2 years.
2 years each factor. Yeah.
Approximately speaking, yes. And one was being a vegetarian. The second one was eating small quantities of nuts. The third was being careful about the body weight, not too heavy, not too thin. The fourth was taking care with regular, vigorous physical activity. And the fifth was never having been a cigarette smoker. That particularly the Adventist faith, the people who are more committed to their church are more likely to comply with their good health habits as well. So the two are connected. And
it's going to be very complicated.
According to statistics, the average lifespan in the USA is 78 years.
To make a lemon pie, would you like to come to the kitchen?
Elsie McClellan has surpassed the average figures by 20 years.
You help make it.
Tonight, she will be cooking her signature dish, a lemon pie. It's the first time Elsie and her daughters have a Harvard professor visiting them.
Oh, these are the lemons.
Yeah, this is the lemons. We'll take this one,
Oh, this one?
this one,
Can I take it?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a beautiful lemon.
and this one.
Okay. Perfect.
There.
Perfect.
Now, what did we do? Turn around and go back?
Yeah, I think we.
I think so.
Desserts are the only gastronomic passion of the centenarian. Elsie never drank tea or coffee during her life. She tasted milk only at the age of 80. Now she has it only with chocolate.
You're vegan, right?
No,
No,
I'm
vegetarian.
not vegetarian,
No.
but I don't eat any kind of pork.
But do you eat like beef?
Yes, beef and chicken and turkey.
I see. And fish?
Yeah,
Fish as well?
yeah.
the main difference is that Adventist tradition has always been to recommend a vegetarian or a plant-based diet. However, it's not been a requirement to belong to the church to be a vegetarian. About half of the Adventists are vegetarian, but about half of them are not. And when we ask the question, why would this be, and think about some of the risk factors for heart attack, such as high cholesterol, high blood pressure, diabetes, being overweight, we find that the vegetarians have big advantages on every one of those. We also know that the vegetarians tend to live 2 or 3 years longer. The whole Adventist population.
The effects of nutritional longevity is constantly the subject of scientific research. According to the experience of the centenarian rules of life, extreme age is not always associated with a certain diet. The island of centenarians, Sardinia, has a specific food culture. This culture is followed even by the 100-year-olds.
How many times every day does he eat?
He eats 3 times a day and has snacks in between.
Qualche merenda, qualche spuntino.
What's his favorite dish?
Pasta.
Pasta with meat sauce,
Pasta al sugo. E
sausages, especially ham, fried pork. That's his favorite.
And the wine, red wine?
Every day, for lunch and dinner.
Cena, sempre.
Okay.
However, experiments were conducted to determine the role of calories on life expectancy, and quite a lot of those experiments for over 100 years. It was first done on rats and mice. At present, it is determined that the limitation of calories prolongs the life of worms, flies, mice, and rats. However, in case of macaques, the findings are somewhat contradictory. One study confirmed that effect, the other didn't. As far as vegetarianism is concerned, we can't form any definitive conclusions because it is challenging to study this topic with certain controls in place.
What is your secret? For secret for long life? Do you think it's the
Well,
food?
I never drank or smoked or went to parties. God has been in my life ever since I was a baby.
So you think the faith is an important factor?
Oh, yes.
Elsie's father was very religious. He died at the age of 83. His wife lived to 79. Elsie had 9 siblings.
There's 2 of us. My sister, who's 95, but she doesn't want to live to be 100. And me, I just think that God is so good, I'll live as long as He lets me.
Well, I don't think it's genetics. I don't think there's any reason to think that we are biologically different. We've done a little bit of genomics work on just looking at a few genes, and they were no different in terms of the frequency. So I think we can put that one.
Officially, Loma Linda was founded in 1970. The first settlers arrived here at the end of the 19th century. For a lengthy period of time, people only married those belonging to the same denomination. It was a closed society which protected its gene pool. Vadim uses a quick method to determine the history of longevity of a specific region. He visits the local cemetery. The main conclusion is that the beneficial role of heredity in the longevity of California Adventists should not be ruled out. Here's one grave, a husband and a wife, Frank Lorch and Ruth Lorch. Frank died at the age of 94. His wife died at the age of 100. Next to it is another grave of Walter Land, 102 years old, born in 1883, died in 1985. The oldest in the cemetery turned out to be a man born at the end of the 18th century. He died at the age of 115. For those troubled times, his lifespan seems simply surreal. In this case, I guess you would need proof of his longevity, as it's very close to the record of 122 years. In fact, of course, I can't say for sure, but within 1 hour, we managed to find graves of 4 people over 100 years old. There were a lot of people who died in their 90s, and in general, very old people. It's evident that people live long lives in Loma Linda and that it's been going on for a long time here.
That is really based upon the notion that the vast majority of us should live to close to 90. And in order to do that, not smoking, not drinking, maybe a little bit of alcohol, being vegetarian or at least avoiding red meat as much as possible, regular exercise virtually every day, also doing things that help manage your stress. It isn't so much the amount of stress that is, I think, important. Some people have a lot of stress in their lives.
Loma Linda in Spanish means a beautiful hill. This glamorous house was built on the very top of this hill. You can see the entire city from here. The owner is about to celebrate his 100th birthday.
My name is Ellsworth Wareham, and I'm 99 years old.
The 99 years of life of Dr. Wareham were very stressful. During the Second World War, the 30-year-old Ellsworth served as a doctor in the Pacific Ocean Fleet. He was in the territorial waters of Japan at the time of the atomic bomb explosions in Hiroshima and Nagasaki. It was the first war that he experienced.
I put in my service in World War II, so I wasn't required to be in the Vietnamese War. This picture is a picture of us operating in Vietnam. This was the last year before Vietnam fell, and we were operating in a private hospital. Some interesting pictures here. This is a picture of the Vice President.
In peacetime, the future longest living person was fully immersed in work. He did 200 surgeries in a year. Ellsworth is a cardiac surgeon. His profession is associated with continuous stress. leading stress handling specialist among gerontologists, works in Northern California, close to San Francisco.
My name is Gordon Lithgow. I'm a professor here at the Buck Institute and I'm 50 years old.
The Buck Institute for Research on Aging is a cutting-edge scientific center built with funds from a variety of benefactors. It is located in the center of a huge plot of untouched nature. The main goal of the researchers is to increase life expectancy of Homo sapiens, human beings. According to Professor Lithgow, the important factor of longevity is the body's resistance to stress.
Yes, although we're moving into mouse and
How does stress affect aging?
well, we think it affects aging a great deal. For example, old animals and people are very sensitive to stress. And we also find that when we make an animal longer lived through a drug or a genetic mutation, we think it really primes the system. We have lots of defense systems against stress, and a little bit of stress turns on those defense systems. Yeah. This is something called hormesis. A tiny amount of stress can be good for you. Kind of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger.
In the laboratory, Gordon Lithgow learned to stimulate the body's systems which bear the impact of stress. As a result of those experiments, the lifespan of worms and flies in the laboratory were increased.
So we slow aging in the laboratory by feeding the animals different kinds of compounds. We screen chemical compound libraries for drug-like molecules that affect signaling pathways and hormonal pathways in the animal. And so we can make centenarian worms quite easily in the laboratory. And we can do this in laboratory mice as well. So it seems possible that we can intervene and slow aging pathology in humans.
A pill against aging is not science fiction, as the gerontologists say. Modern science knows at least 5 chemical compounds which prolong the life of laboratory animals. The final goal is to find the compounds which will produce the same effect on a human being. The search for the elixir of life is done by hundreds of laboratories around the world. The laboratory of our expert, Vadim Gladishov, is no exception.
We also study centenarians. So why do you think there are human centenarians?
Centenarians are really unusual people.
Yeah.
And we really don't know exactly why certain people have this ability to dodge chronic disease during normal aging, somehow get out there. But I suspect that stress resistance and the ability to combat stress is one of the features.
Yeah.
Dr. Wareham was seriously ill only when he was young. He had tuberculosis. His body recovered from this grave disease without the aid of medicine. Later on, not a single illness prevented this man from reaching fantastic results. Ellsworth assisted with surgeries until he was 95.
I could operate right now. My hands are steady and my eyes are good. And I think my reasoning powers are still there. So I could do it now. But I think I was wise to stop at 95.
Based on his experience, Ellsworth came up with a few rules which helped him to personally address stress. The first rule is to find a job you love. The second rule is to rest more.
I learned in my profession how to go to sleep quite quickly. And I think that, let us say, I could leave you and I could lie down, I could be asleep in 15 minutes right now. One does, of course, have to consider other things like exercise, which is very important. I don't spend time worrying about things that I can't do anything about. Anybody can realize that there are a lot of things you can't do anything about.
One more component of longevity, named by the 99-year-old man Ellsworth Wareham, is a close-knit family. In 2013, he and his wife celebrated 63 years of marriage. They have 5 children, 8 grandchildren, and 3 great-grandchildren.
I'm realistic. 9 times as many women live to be 100 as men. So for when you find a man that's 100, that's pretty unusual. I don't really care to live beyond my strength. I've lived a good, enjoyable life. I've been in the right profession. I've enjoyed what I did. I've enjoyed my family. And so I'm ready to go, you know what I mean?
Having flown across America and having talked to scientists in Boston, Loma Linda, and San Francisco, Harvard professor Vadim Gladishov is ready to conclude his encounters with the centenarians. Certainly heredity is important when it comes to longevity. Parents' genes. Luck is also important, to not have any serious injuries during one's lifetime. But you can change your life, you can live longer. One has to be physically active, socially involved, eat well, and have a career which literally pulls you into longevity. The expert made his conclusions. The Centenarians' Rules of Life project continues its search for the formula of longevity.